Welcome to the new Hoop Dream. I'm Mike Nicoll, and today we are going to start unpacking the state of American basketball. And before I go any deeper than that, let me start by saying, what a clusterfuck. The health and wealth of the American basketball machine is a topic I've spent over a decade unraveling. And right now, I think it's specifically important that we talk about how AAU basketball is changing post-NIL. Specifically because it impacts hundreds of thousands of players and families all over the country. Now, I've spent my entire life traveling through the American basketball system in one capacity or another. First as a player myself in AAU, high school, and college, and then as a filmmaker over the last 15 years, directing 2 different feature films that are set in the heart of this world. And we're gonna lay the foundation for this conversation by taking a look at my first feature film, At All Costs, which was my first film fresh out of USC Film School. Some of you may have seen it during the 3 years it was on Netflix, but if you missed it, here's a taste.
It's part of the process now to making it in basketball.
You spend a whole summer and watch AAU basketball, you'll see the next generation of NBA stars.
It's so competitive from the NBA all the way down to 4th grade. 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds out here giving it up.
There are many, many abuses, but that's what happens when the rewards are so high.
AAU creates a situation where all sorts of immoral, illegal, sort of questionable activities can transpire.
If your program's successful, people gonna take angles to try to get your kids.
None of us have the luxury right now. We it up.
All the money they're putting into it, now you have an even bigger target on your back.
You motherfuckers must have forgot. Look, that's the real deal right there.
The kid is the product, so if you got the product, people will come.
You hold that spot, you go drifting around, I'm gonna break your neck.
The individual. That's what we're selling, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody's trying to get a piece of that asset.
Run them the out of the gym.
Players play, spectators watch. Get your ass out there and go balls to the wall.
Well, I'll tell you on your chest, you got Compton. If you want your goddamn respect, you gotta come get it right now.
The full film lives right here on this channel, which we will link to right after this video. We began production on At All Costs in the summer of 2012, and the big question at the time was, should college athletes be getting paid? The framing of this conversation always struck me as misguided and frankly absurd because it flew in the face of my own lived experience and what I knew to be true, which is that the best American players are professionals by the time that they're 13 years old. By any measuring stick, the amateur party is over long before any of these dudes ever put on a Duke, Carolina, or UCLA jersey. So knowing that to be true in my bones and having lived it firsthand, my mission as a filmmaker became, how do we make a film that demonstrates this professionalization of youth basketball? And let me also say that when we started filming At All Costs, everything about this professionalization was still very much under the table. $100 handshakes, duffel bags, plausible deniability. And one of the things I think I'm most proud of across all of my feature films is how early we've been to some core, profound trends that have taken a deep root in our culture. And At All Costs was the start of that for me. So fast forward to present day. How is the AAU basketball domain changing post-NIL? Before I start peeling back those layers, let me talk about why this matters. AAU is the foundation of America's basketball house. It's the base layer, the protocol, the language our guys learn to speak. It is the operating system that we install inside their approach and decision-making on and off the court. Everything you see about the NBA product is born in AAU basketball. Now, whether the NBA understands this or even cares is a question for another video, and we'll get there eventually. But for right now, consider this. American basketball players enter the AAU system long around 8 or 9 years old. And as a consequence of the NBA's age limit, this means they'll spend roughly a decade bouncing around the AAU domain. Eventually, they will spend a single year moonlighting in college basketball, or the G League, or overseas. But by the time they're eligible for the NBA draft, American players will have spent 90% of their basketball life in this AAU factory. And so it is in this way that AAU basketball trickles up to the NBA. Our players, any players, carry with them the habits they've spent the most time doing. the mentality, the philosophy that they absorb from this culture during their most formative years, that is their code. So, for better or worse, NBA basketball is AAU basketball. Now, I think a useful framework for understanding the power dynamics of this world is separating the analysis onto two separate tracks: the adults on one hand and the children on the other. When I began making Adult Costs, I was bent on telling the story from a player's perspective, because that was mainly my experience as a player. But something I learned from directing this film was, if you really want to understand AAU basketball, understanding the adults in the room is the first order of business, because they set the terms of engagement. And make no mistake, America's AAU basketball system is designed for one single purpose: to identify, anoint, and ultimately monetize the next generation of NBA stars. Period. It is not designed to develop our players, cultivate their love of the game, serve these families, or in any way act in the player's best interest. And quite frankly, the system's core incentives reflect that stone cold fact. So with that in mind, let's start with the adults. The AAU teams, coaches, and shoe companies that own and operate this infrastructure. So I think one of the abiding questions for me right now, post-NIL, is, are these linchpin powerhouse AAU teams still as indispensable and mandatory as they were pre-NIL? At a minimum, NIL has stripped these AAU teams of the monopoly they used to enjoy on monetizing America's best young talent. Pre-NIL, the old system afforded AAU coaches and teams this vice grip on a player's only true matriculation path, or their only path toward a promotion, if you will. But I think the most instructive way to think about these AAU programs' modern relevance is to consider their incentives. What are the services they're empowered to offer? And has their corporate mandate changed? Blue chip programs like the Compton Magic are beneficiaries of major shoe company sponsorship precisely because they are charged with getting the best players in the country to wear their brand. That is why they exist. An AAU team attaching itself to the most talented teenagers around is quite literally their job. What does that look like in real life? Well, here's a scene from Adult Costs.
We got a lot of going on the street that everyone needs to be cognizant of so we can keep everything together. If our elite team is what it is now, is beautiful. It's probably the most marketable team in the country. We got 4 4.0s in that starting lineup. Probably got the 2 most athletic white kids in the country. I mean, do you understand the marketability of that team? How marketable that team is? It's insane. We are sexy as f***. That leaves us less responsibility all during this year. That team's done. It's recruited. We're not running around chasing guys, trying to lock guys off, drop. I mean, all we're doing is doing what I did today, dropping our guys' bags, our main guys' bags right now. Upkeep.
But I heard they got another 6th, 8th grader. No, he's a freshman. He ain't enrolled yet. The kid from Chicago. He living with somebody right now. I got to find out.
Ethan Thompson.
That kid is special.
So as everyone's out there looking for kids, anyone who has it in there, you, we need to really start pushing that. We're building that team around Ethan, period. Put the gas on the shit.
Whenever you see him, whenever you see TK, whenever you see his mom, Nicoll, full court press.
That is what I set out to do. Demonstrate what makes this world go round. And what does it all come down to? Relationship building. That is what ultimately fuels this space. And it also informs why AAU programs are so powerful in the first place. It's because they control the talent. Prior to NIL, when compensation for players was forced under the table, the principal offering that these powerful AAU coaches could dangle for their players was access to a premier Division I scholarship. Today, in the player empowerment, social media-driven post-NIL era, things are very different. Today's bottom line is, if you're any good, you're gonna get seen or discovered no matter where you are. The thing that's changed now, post-NIL, is the type, category, and caliber of person that wants access to these players. It's not just Division I coaching staffs anymore. It's everybody. So let's talk about the players. When the publicly accepted definition of a professional athlete shifts to the extent that it has, everything changes. And make no mistake, in the NIL era, a professional athlete is any human being of any age that presents value to a brand or an organization. 10 years old? Sure. 8? Why not? There quite literally is no bottom. So effectively, NIL has rendered today's players as freelance gig economy individualists who just happen to be playing a team sport. And the modern hoop dream offers so many different paths or formats of success, each with their own different price tag. And increasingly, many of them have very little to do with basketball excellence. So whereas previously it was really only college coaching staffs that needed, wanted, or could benefit from accessing these teenage players, and now these players have ways of branding and monetizing themselves long before they ever get to college. And college itself is far less necessary than it used to be, both for basketball players and for the everyday person out there in the real world. And so the services on offer from AAU programs has to evolve. The big question for me is, can these AAU programs broaden out their services? Can the job that used to be done by one really plugged in mogul type dude still be done by that same person? Or does that job need to be done now by 2, 3, 4 different people, all with different areas of business expertise? One thing that has not changed post NIL, there are no rules. AAU is famous or infamous for being the wild, wild west, for being this lawless place where anything goes, and that is still true as it's ever been. To close us out today, guys, I want to drill down on one thing that I think differentiates this channel from everything else that's out there. And that is, I do not subscribe to the money worship that dominates every facet of American life today. It's shallow, it's boring, and it limits your possibilities. I am much more interested in a soul-forward approach to life. The pursuit of truth and meaning. The soul of the game, if you will. And here's the truth. The avalanche of money inside the American basketball system has compromised the sport to its core. In a post-NIL world, where branding, social media followers, endorsements, visibility, clout, these things have all become the primary pursuit. These are the new main things, which means the basketball, the game, the sport itself, is no longer the main thing. And this single dimension fixation on money worshiping, it's exhausting, it's misguided, and loses sight of the fact that we are talking about children. They may be very talented children, but we're talking about kids, teenagers. The game of basketball has so much more to offer the children who play it than simply money. And the truth in that fact is revealed when this conversation is migrated from a philosophical, intellectual, first take debate about fairness and what's due to who, to a soulful conversation with parents and families about where, when, and how they want to professionalize or brand their child. So ask yourself this question. What does a 15-year-old know about their brand? Truly, what the does a 15-year-old know about their brand? What do you know about your brand? I believe the one true legacy of AAU basketball is that it has individualized this beautiful team game. So, for now, my question is, what happens to the sport when the game itself becomes a secondary concern? And that brings me to my highest goal for this channel, which is to share a navigational blueprint with the hundreds of thousands of players and families out there chasing their hoop dream. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share us with anyone in your life who you think would benefit from having a more soulful conversation about these topics. I made my films to add value to my audience's life, and the same is true for this channel. So till next time, I'm Mike Nicoll. I'm happy you're here, and we'll see you soon.